Hello everyone, and welcome to a nice little game played by Phillip Lewicki with the white pieces versus Natan Furman with the black pieces. Um, this was a game played on July 7th, 2020, in an online match on leechess.com, and unfortunately I could not find any images of Natan Furman online, so we will have to make use of the hoodie guy for this video. And in his honor, I have donned a hoodie myself, and let's begin. We have white plays d4 and d5 in response. And instead of playing the more common gambit c4, white goes for e4, the Blackmar Diemer gambit. Here black accepts this free pawn, and white plays c4. So similar to what you would do in the queen's gambit, just mirrored. Okay, this position has been reached before, and in this position black played e5. And that game resulted in a draw. But here instead, black plays knight to f6. And after d5 pushing his center a little forward, now we have e5, excuse me. So here, white can take the pawn en passant on e6, and that will probably result in a queen trade where white loses castling privileges. So instead of capturing, white plays knight to c3. Nice move developing and putting some pressure on this e4 pawn. White would very much like to have this e4 pawn removed because right now it is preventing white from developing his knight to c3, to f3, or bishop to d3. Okay, now we have c6, again trying to put some more pressure on the center, contest white's pawns a bit, and here we have bishop to g5. So now this knight is pinned, and the e4 pawn is in fact in danger. So black forces the bishop either away or to capture the knight and trade, and white does go for this, losing the bishop pair, but in the process winning the pawn on e4 and winning back the material gambited from the Blackmar Diemer gambit. Okay, we have knight to e4, kicking the queen away, and we have queen to g6. Here we have knight to g3, because of course the knight was under attack from the queen. And in this position, black is just slightly better. White's position is just slightly awkward. The development is somewhat clear, but the engines especially don't like this. Here we have bishop to d4 check. Bishop b4 check. Okay. And king e2. Of course, only move if you don't want to lose a queen. And here we have bishop to g4 check. Of course, you can't win the queen because, of course, f3 kicks the bishop away, and in fact, this is what was played in the game. So black's position here gets slightly more messy. White's position gets slightly more messy. You have these two knights that are a bit awkward. They both can't really move anywhere except for this e2 square, which is controlled by the king, which the king is on. The bishop is also looking a bit awkward here. Black is almost nicely developed. He just has to get his knight in the game somehow, maybe through a6, maybe through d7. But okay. Of course, he can't do that immediately because his bishop is under attack, so we have bishop to f5. Retreating a bit, just a nice square for the bishop in general. Here we have a3, kicking the other bishop away. And now we have bishop to c5. Here we have b4, allowing black to play this bishop to d4 move. Attacking the queen, the bishop is very centralized, and it's hard to kick it away because it's supported by this e5 pawn, and you don't have any pawns to poke at it with. So we have rook to c1. Of course, one of the only moves for the rook because b1 is taken by the bishop and queen. And here black simply castles. content with his slightly superior situation and position. Here we have knight to h3. Mr. Lewicki tries to develop a bit. And here we have bishop takes h3 and captures. Black is simply trying to make white's pawn structure even more awkward. Here we have bishop to b2, poking at the rook, and also going after this a3 pawn. And it's a fork you can't really get out of, because these two squares are controlled by both the bishop and the queen. So we have rook c2. We have rook to c2, attacking the bishop, and the bishop simply takes the a3 pawn. We have queen to d2 now, and here comes knight to a6. Black's position is simply better. There's no need to do anything super crazy here. You can just develop, start attacking, and white's position will eventually crumble. This position on f1 is still looking pretty weak. There is not much to be done here for white at this moment. But okay, we have bishop b5, pawn b5, poking this knight, questioning its motives, and we have knight to b8. So, knight back with ideas of going here. Now we have king to f2. The king tries to make its way to g2, maybe g1, just trying to generally get it out of the middle of the board and into safety. But here we have bishop to c5 check, and the king has to go away to g2. And now here comes knight d7. The knight couldn't really expand or develop from a6 as it was being attacked, so he retreats and goes through d7. Here we have rook to g1. The engine says this is a mistake and not a blunder, but white simply sacrifices the exchange in exchange for some to alleviate some of the pressure from this powerful bishop on c5. The rook here on h1 wasn't really doing anything, and white would have to move his light square bishop before the rook could even have a chance of getting into the game. So okay, here we have knight to c5, excuse me, developing the knight, getting it to a better square, and here we have queen to e3, attacking the knight. We have queen takes c2, and queen captures on c5. So there, it's unclear whether or not that was a blunder or a second exchange sacrifice, but white left his c2 rook undefended and went for the knight on c5. So okay, white's king is somewhat safe, but his position is still a little awkward. We have rook f to e8, so here. With vague ideas of pushing this e-pawn, we have d takes c6, we have, this d-pawn takes the c6 pawn, and we have captures. Now we have queen captures on c6, and rook a c8, taking the queen away. Here we have queen to d7, just generally making black's position slightly more scary than it was before. If either of these rooks move away from the 8th rank, then it won't be pretty for white, for black, excuse me. So here we have rook to d8, staying on this this 8th rank, and we have queen to e7. Queen to d2, knight to f5. So here, white starts coming in with the attack, putting some pressure on these two pawns. Maybe the queen can come, and some vague checkmating ideas on g7 in particular. So now we have queen to d7, and that was black's idea to for why he went queen to d2, trying to relocate the queen so that maybe he can alleviate some of this attacking pressure and trade queens off. So we have captures on e5, and here we have f6, kicking the queen away, and of course preventing checkmate in two ways. The queen is guarding and blocking the queen's path to g7. So here we have queen f4, queen f4, and g5. g5 was a slight inaccuracy, but in this position, black is still better. So now we have queen to e4 because the queen is under attack. And now we have rook to e8. Here, black's position starts to crumble a little bit. Because instead of moving the queen, white can simply capture this pawn on h6 with check. So here, black moves, and he moves to h8, which is an unfortunate square for the king. Now white can really start to put the pressure. A better square would have been, would have been g7, because the knight is under attack, of course, and there's nothing much for white to do other than to go back to f5. But okay, we have king to... my dog Meadow is barking a bit. We have, let's see, king to h8, and now we have queen to g6. So again, we have a lot of threats here, but nothing is too serious right now. Black is still slightly better in this situation. But now Mr. Furman plays queen to g7. With some ideas of either trading queens and just keeping this queen here, trying to protect everything. Here white, of course, doesn't want to trade queens, and Mr. Lewicki plays queen to h5. Here we have rook to e7, which is a slight blunder. Black was trying to solidify this rank for checkmating ideas, but it gives white this knight to f5 check idea. And this actually isn't terrible for black, because queen to h7 can be played. However, black missed this, and perhaps under time pressure or stress, black played king to g8, which loses the game almost on the spot. We have captures on g7. We have rook recaptures, and now this position is significantly better for white. So the table's turned in a matter of 5 or so moves, and there's not much to be done here anymore. Black is also down on time. This was a 5-minute blitz game, so unfortunately this is just a loss. But okay, black continues. We have queen to h6 here, threatening this pawn. So now we have rook to h7, attacking the queen and forcing this capture. Here we have rook to f8, maybe trying to grab hold of this pawn. Here we have a slight tactic. Black was baiting Mr. Lewicki into capturing on g5. This would be quite a blunder, for rook to g7 would instantly win the game. After captures, black is up the exchange, and as long as he can defend against these numerous passed pawns, the game would still be playable at the very least. However, white sees this and doesn't go for it, and instead white goes for, let's see, where are we? for... white goes for g6 check. And we can be sure that white saw this, because otherwise there would be no point in not taking g5. You get the same check, but you get a pawn along with it. So here we have queen to h6 check, queen to g6 check, rook to g7, and here we have queen to h6, rook to h7, queen to e6 check, so not repeating moves with the same check, rook f blocks on f7, and we have queen to e8 check. So the queen just peppers the black king with some checks, hoping to get some sort of advantage here. But no progress is really made, just rook to f8, queen to c6, and okay, the game resumes. White is very much in the lead here, and this is in fact a winning position for white. Here we have rook f to f7, queen to e4, rook h to g7, c5. Here white starts pushing the pawns, trying to advance the c past pawn and hopefully get some sort of promotion here. We have rook e7, attacking the queen, forcing it to move somewhere. However, instead of moving the queen, white has this bishop c4 idea. If bishop c4 couldn't have been played before pushing the c pawn, so if black had done some silly move like rook to h7, then bishop c4 would have come and won this rook and probably won the game almost instantly. But okay, we have rook to e7, bishop c4 with check, and king moves to h8. We have queen to f5, rook to c7, which the engine says is a blunder, rook to c7. And now here, white should have gone queen to queen to f8 with check. And after, of course you can't block because that's instant checkmate. After king moves, there would have been bishop check, and this position would have just been very overpowering for white. But instead, after rook to c7, after... Oh, we did have this. Okay, sorry. This actually did happen. King did go to h7, and now we have c6 pushing for a queen. The better move would have been to bishop to d3, and there would have in fact been a forced mate in several moves. Here we have a6, a blunder by black. We have queen to f5 check, king goes to h8, and we have queen to d5. A takes b5, bishop takes b5, and rook to e7. Bishop to c4 now, going after that mate on g8. Black defends with his rook to g7, and here there's another forced mate. We have queen to d8 with check, and king runs away. Bishop to d5, we have rook to a7. Next we have bishop to e4 with check, and after rook blocks, sacrificing the exchange, white accepts, and now we have c7. And in this position, there's nothing black can do to stop this promotion. The strongest lines by the engine give black some chances. After let's see, the engines say that rook to a1 check, and peppering white with a few checks here is the greatest chance of survival, but at this point it doesn't really matter what black plays. Here black took on c7, sacrificing the rook, and after the queen accepted, black resigned the game. There's nothing much to be done here. There's a single pawn, and white will win this game up a queen. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this interesting game played by Phillip Lewicki versus Mr. Furman, and I will see you all in the next video.